That dude cares about people. He cares about making sure that everybody has a great experience, and he cares about his family and yours, to be exact. So I'm proud of him. I'm happy that he's doing some other things and expanding his knowledge in the world of hip hop, DJing, and wrestling as he's doing some great job with AEW. The WWE is something that I grew up on. I know a lot of my friends grew up on, and I know a lot of different people are still part of that world. My favorite wrestler is and always will be Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Stone Cold, and of course, Mark Henry. I appreciate him taking the time to talk to us about all this stuff. Coming up next, we've got my man, Kyle Humans of the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to talk NFL draft, who's coming in to visit the Cowboys, and the Cowboys not making any moves. Is that good for the future? We'll talk about it next here on the Hard Knocks Life on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone. huge Dallas Cowboy fan, and what better way to get my news than to go up to Arlington and talk to my man, Kyle Humans. You can make sure you can follow him at Kyle_Humans. He's a proud triplet dad, and he does Dallas Cowboys TV and draft show. What's up, Kyle? How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, Big Mike? Glad to be with you again. And like you said, this time of year is always a lot of fun, and we've got some draft to talk about.
I'm excited to talk about this draft, but first, before we get into that, how's the misses and the triplets?
Man, they're good. They're getting on the doorstep of coming home. So while I may be getting a little bit of sleep now, the sleep will go away very quickly whenever they get to come home. They're still under great care at the NICU and doing great. So we're really excited about the next couple weeks and getting them back in the building.
Yeah, I love that for you, man. I'm very happy for you and the missus. I'm proud. I'm proud that this has all happened all at once. 3 of them all at once, Kyle. 3 of them all at once.
Oh yeah, I couldn't have done it any tougher. Put it any tougher on myself. But we're gonna make it happen, and we're so blessed to have all 3 of them in our lives.
Yeah, I'm happy for you guys. Hey man, I want to get into this Cowboy off season. It's been pretty interesting for some and not interesting enough for others. So when you start to look at this Cowboy team and the way that everything is set up, it looks like everything is geared for the draft. So it looks like they're leaning in on all these draft picks. And one position in particular has been the running back position. Obviously, Derrick Henry talked about he would have loved to have been a Cowboy. It was a perfect situation, never got reached out to. You let Tony Pollard leave in free agency. So now you're left with Rico Dowdle. You have Deuce Vaughn, and who's next?
Yeah, you've got Malik Davis and Snoop Connor. I mean, those are your guys that you've got on the roster right now, but that's not the plan going into the draft. I think this is a team that wants to come out with a draft pick, wants to run the football effectively, and they didn't necessarily do that yet last year. They did not run the football effectively, and right now they're looking at this football team as a roster that isn't as stout at running the football than they even were a year ago. You think about it, you don't have your starting center, you don't have your starting left tackle, and you don't have your starting tailback. And having all of those 3 things missing from your roster, one puts an extreme amount of pressure on the draft and making sure that you hit on rookies that are going to be available and ready and willing and able to contribute as rookies. But also, it makes you look at this and say, do you really have an emphasis of running the football? There's going to be a decision made during draft time. This is a deep wide receiver class. So whenever you're talking about pick number 56, I think in the first round, it's pretty safe to say they're going to go either with an interior or an offensive tackle and shore up the offensive line. But from that point forward, you could really draft a number of positions. And I think running back and wide receiver are both on the board. You don't have Michael Gallup no longer. You don't have really that deep threat from an offensive standpoint. You do have Brandon Cooks back, which is nice. But you would like some outside possibility and maybe some versatility to pair with CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks in the future. So you have to make a decision. Are you closer on running the football by drafting offensive line and then drafting a running back? Or could you be closer by just leaning in and saying, we're going to throw the thing. We're going to throw the ball around the yard and get it to our playmakers, because our offensive line is a huge question mark. We do have some playmakers at the receiver position, and we could possibly scheme it up to get them the football quicker. So it'll be a fun decision-making process. And by fun, I mean uber stressful whenever it comes down to how they're going to redo this run game and how they're going to shore up the offensive line and the running back position.
I'm glad you said that, because stressful is the best way to put all of this that's been going on during this off season. You know, you sit there and you try to figure out and look at, okay, you just went through all the people that left the organization. Now you're trying to establish some new people in those positions. That is difficult when you're looking at it from afar, but you've been in the building, you know what goes on over there in Frisco and how these guys are starting to think. But is this a team that can compete to try to get back to first off, the playoffs, but are they a team that is going all in literally or bust this year?
So there's a couple things here. I think first off, the all-in scenario, and Jerry Jones brought that kind of on upon himself by saying that they were going all in
Yeah.
whenever he was talking at the Senior Bowl, and he kind of leaned into it and has since leaned into it. That's a Jerryism that has kept people talking, and so it worked out. I mean, it worked out. People are still talking about it, but when it comes to the all-in mindset, I think they believe they have been all in these last couple of years. And sure, they haven't necessarily spent free agent money the way that maybe other teams have been spending free agent money. But I think that's a byproduct of drafting well. I think that's a byproduct of having to pay your own players. I mean, think about drafting Dak Prescott. Think about drafting Ezekiel Elliott. And then you get into Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, these contracts, these guys that earn second deals in their career with the Cowboys. They want to hold on to their elite players, and they're going to have some coming up with CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, Deron Bland. They just paid Trayvon Diggs last offseason. I mean, they put themselves in a position to draft and develop, and whenever you draft well, you're going to ultimately have to pay those players. And so that's what they believe was all in. Is that really the all in that fans want to see? Probably not. You want to see the signings of guys like Derrick Henry. You want to go out and get offensive linemen when you need offensive linemen. And they haven't spent money on the free agent market that way. And they're not at the bottom of the league in that. This year they are. But they're not at the bottom of the league in that in the last 10 years. They're actually right in the middle in terms of free agent spending. But that's because they've had to counterbalance that with the contracts that they have on hand. Going back to if this team can compete with the moves that have been made and the guys that have walked away, absolutely, this team can compete. Now, on paper, when you look at it, it's probably not going to be as strong as it was a year ago or over these last 3 seasons where you've won 12 games in the regular season, but you still have a franchise quarterback that you trust. You still have an elite wide receiver, possibly the top wide receiver in the game right now. I mean, he had a record-breaking season last year and was arguably the top wide receiver in football outside of Tyreek Hill. So you have a weapon on that side, and then you flip to the defensive side. You have the 2 interception leaders in 2 of the last 3 years, and you have one of the best pass rushers in football. So, yeah, you have pieces. Sure, you have holes at the same time, and that's ultimately what they're going to try and fill in the draft. But with the way that free agency is gone and the lack of moves that have happened, I don't think anybody should be surprised that Tyler Biadasz is no longer here, that Tyron Smith is no longer here, that the linebacker position is thin, that you have Tony Pollard elsewhere. I mean, these are all moves that I think Cowboys fans or those that keep up with the team should have anticipated. I think the only real loss that you have is just the security blanket of having those guys in the building. And if that was going to happen, you were going to have to pay them market price or above in order to keep them to stick around. And I don't think the Cowboys nor the fans really wanted that for any of those things.
There he is, my man Kyle Humans, breaking it down like no other. Make sure you get over to Twitter and follow him at Kyle_Humans. You can catch all of his work over there. Kyle, as always, man, get some sleep, and I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it.
All right.
There he is, my man Kyle Humans. When we come back, we're going to preview the massive weekend for the Texas softball team as #1 Oklahoma makes its trip to Austin. Don't go anywhere. Right here on the Hard Knocks Life on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone. Number one, we also have Mark Henry, the world's strongest man, WWE Hall of Famer, talking about WrestleMania. And in the next hour, we will have our man Corey Mose of KView talking about the University of Texas and all the happenings around the university. But this weekend is a huge matchup as the number one ranked Oklahoma Sooners come into town to take on the number 4 ranked Texas Longhorns in softball. Games start tonight, 5:30. And you can watch that on ESPNU. You also have ESPN on Saturday and LHN on Sunday. So this is a big, big matchup. But let's hear from a lot of the University of Texas participants.
We can't win or lose a national championship this weekend. So the goal is still, all the goals are still in place.
Going into these big moments, it's going to be who can handle the pressure better. I think both teams are equally as talented.
I think we're both good teams. I mean, it's going to be a dogfight for both of us, and we're all going to bring our stuff each game, and it's going to be exciting.
We're taking the name off the jersey and going in like knowing that they are a great team and believing in ourselves, playing our game.
We can't make it bigger than what it is. It's already going to be a big series, but we've shown that we can match up against good teams, and that's what we've got to kind of concentrate on, is that we do have the abilities. We are a good team. Now play to our best.
I think this team is just like so talented in every aspect of the game. And going into this weekend, I know the confidence is all there. We just have to put it together to come out with the wins.
We're still a young team. We're still mostly sophomores and freshmen, and we're playing 3-time defending national champion with 10 seniors.
It's gonna be fun. That's audio from my man Tyler Feldman over at KView. But yes, this is a huge matchup. Oklahoma 34-1 and 12-0 in the Big 12. And then you look at the Texas Longhorns, they are 29-5, 9-3 in the Big 12. So this is a huge, huge 3-game series. But like Coach Mike White said, you don't win or lose the Big 12 or the championship, the national championship this weekend. So you'll still have those opportunity to get after it. And I can't wait to see how this all plays out. First pitch tonight, 5:30, right there on ESPNU or at McCombs Field. The Texas men's baseball team came up short last night. Hey, it's a trend, right? They end up losing on the first game of the series. So we're hoping that the trend continues and they win the second and third game as BYU came into town and took a 7-5 victory last night. When we come back, the Final Four, that's right, men's and women, get started this weekend. The women start tonight and the men tomorrow. We'll talk about it right here in the second hour of the Hardge Knocks Life. Don't go anywhere. Hour number 2 is just around the corner, right here on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone. Two of the Hardge Knocks Life right here on Sports Radio AM 1300 The Zone. I am Mike Harbaugh Hardge, and if you want to be a part of the show, hit me up on the text line. That's right, text the word Texas followed by your message to 81530. That's the word Texas followed by your message to 81530. Standard message and data rates may apply. Well, it's here, folks. It's that time. It is that time for the Final Four. Basketball season in the college game is almost over. It starts tonight in Cleveland, Ohio, as the NC State Wolfpack takes on South Carolina with Don Staley, who was just named Naismith Coach of the Year, undefeated South Carolina, followed by UConn and Iowa to close out the night as the women's Final Four starts tonight, and then the men's Final Four starts tomorrow as Alabama and UConn get the party going, as does NC State and Purdue. UConn and Purdue, number 1 seeds. Alabama, a number 4 seed, and the Cinderella story of NC State continues. UConn and NC State have two teams participating in the Final Four, one in the men and one in the women, and it is going to be a fun matchup. But there's been a lot of talk about college basketball, especially women's college basketball. But the two players that have always been in the conversation have been Paige Beckers and one Caitlin Clark. And the important part of all of this is the ability to be able to uplift each other. And I want you to hear from Caitlin Clark on what Paige does for the game as well.
It's not Paige versus Caitlin, and it takes the entire team to win a basketball game, and both of us are going to do everything we can. But I think the coolest thing about Paige is how resilient she is. Obviously, she's kind of been dealt a tough hand, and that girl only has positive things to say about her teammates and the way she carries herself on and off the court, the way she works hard, and none of that has changed. Since I've known her since she was in middle school, she's always worked that same way. She's always had that fire. She's always been a great leader, and I really honestly couldn't be happier for her in the year that she's had. And the way she's led this team back to the Final Four when they've kind of been dealt a tough hand as a program, and they never made excuses. And to me, I think that's something, you just really admire as a competitor more than anything. So I think it's really cool.
I think it's pretty cool too, because when we talked about it yesterday, if you start to go back and look at the history of these two ladies, they were both at the top of their game coming out of high school. They were both the talk of the town. Paige was the National Player of the Year her freshman year. That's how cold-blooded she was. And speaking of being cold-blooded, Madison Booker was an All-American, named All-American this year. First team All-American. Only 10 players were on there, and Madison Booker was one of them. So she is on that track to be one of those types of players. But you start to look at it, and what Paige has done for the basketball game, what Caitlin Clark has done for basketball, but there's more players that are on there. And Paige was talking about the stars that will be able to carry the game after Caitlin Clark is already gone.
I think media coverage is important for the game. I think it grows the game. I know freshman year I was like the media darling. Everybody was like focused on me and what I did at UConn my freshman year. But I think it's more important for the game to share the spotlight, to grow the game and show all the stars of college basketball and not just focus on one.
Gave you some names. I just talked to you about Madison Booker, but not only Madison Booker on our own team, you got Aaliyah Moore. You're going to have Rory Harmon back at the university. You've got some top-notch players in this game that are now starting to get the respect that they deserve. In the women's game, I've heard multiple people talk about how excited they are for a lot of these games. And you just kind of wonder, it's like, oh, okay, are you really that excited? Look, I live in a house with a bunch of athletes, and everybody in the house has been talking about women's basketball long before this moment to where everybody was talking about it. We've been following the game forever because there is a lot of talent that is out there. So when you start to look at what the nation is recognizing, 12.3 million viewers for the game the other night between LSU and Iowa. Think about that. It was more than the World Series and the NBA Finals. That is amazing to me when you start to think about how the game has changed. It's an exciting time, and we got a lot going on this weekend, but I definitely will be in front of a TV watching those games tonight because it is that time. And it is that moment for everybody to be involved. And so when you start to look at it and you start to see these different names and these different numbers and, what does this mean? And there's a guy named Jim Boeheim that was talking about Caitlin Clark and what she has meant to college basketball. And he was asked by one Dan Patrick about, hey, would you have been regulating the shots on what Caitlin Clark does? And he's like, nah, man, you just got to let her shoot.
Would you allow Caitlin Clark, if you were her coach, to shoot the way she shoots?
And further back if she wants.
There's no bad shot then for her.
He's like Steph Curry. You think Steve Kerr ever tells Steph Curry, hey, Steph, don't take that shot? No.
I think maybe 10 years ago he did.
No, I doubt it. I think Steph Curry's been on a roll for at least 7 or 8 years.
No, but I think initially he was like, those seem like crazy shots.
He's the only one that I've seen other than Steph Curry that can do that. She's incredible. She's the best player to watch. I've said this all year. She's the best player to watch playing basketball other than Steph Curry, in my mind.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like the fact that she can shoot the ball from anywhere is what's the most intriguing part about it all. And what he said about Steph Curry is so true because of the simple fact that when people saw Steph Curry, it gave the little guy, and Steph Curry, by the way, is like 6'3", in case y'all were wondering how tall Steph Curry is. He's listed at like 6'3". But it gave him an opportunity to shoot the ball from wherever he wanted to shoot the ball, and it made players think, I can get a shot off anywhere I want. And that is what she's been able to do for the game. She's changed the way people have seen it. She's changed the way people watched it, but she's so entertaining. And here's the other reason I think that she is so entertaining. She doesn't care. She just balls. But like I told you before, don't sleep on Paige Beckers. Everybody was talking about last week's matchup between LSU and Iowa. The game I want to see is the one tonight between UConn and Iowa, because there's some good basketball players that are there. When we come back, we're going to transition to football. That's right, Texas football. They met with the media yesterday, and we talked about the running back position. It's important to know that Texas still got some running backs, and the room keeps getting deeper. That's right here on the Hardge Knocks Life on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone. offense. The offense is going to be exciting. They're ready to go. They have everything that they can possibly do. But then you start to look at the team and you say, what are you going to do about the running game? And what Coach Sark has been able to do is create a good 1-2 punch in the backfield.
Me and Blue, this year, we're trying to get closer off the field. I feel like if me and him get closer off the field and on the field, we'll be able to do tremendous things. But with Blue, I mean, we all know Blue fast as a lightning bolt. So that's what stands out the most to him. And he's practicing at an elite level right now. I mean, the plays he's making, the way he's moving, stuff like that, he's going to have a great year for sure.
Yeah, and I'm excited about that when you start to think about this team. Because remember, at the very beginning of the year, C.J. Baxter was the running back that started the season at number 1. Then he got banged up a little bit. Jonathan Brooks just started to ascend, and the rest is history. Jonathan Brooks probably should have been the Doak Walker Award winner. He should have been the running back of the year. I mean, he should have had a lot of awards if he didn't have to deal with that injury. I wanted to ask my man Kyle if he was on the board for the Cowboys that at that 56 position that he was talking about. Cowboys picking up one Jonathan Brooks. That would have been cool. But the running game is going to be a major part of the success. And one of the reasons is because of Tashard Choice. Tashard Choice and the ability to communicate with his players. He's a guy that used to play the running back position, played it at the high level. He too was a Dallas Cowboy. So what he knows about that star. He knows about being a star. And so when you look at C.J. Baxter and what made him come to the University of Texas, there's only one answer, and that's Tashard Choice.
Like you said, trust is a big part with Coach Choice. And if you look at, man, the type of dude he is outside of football, it stands out. I mean, that's what really won me over. I know how he develops backs and stuff like that. But outside of football, the type of person he is, I feel like I can, if I don't want to call my dad or my granddad or a family member like blood, I know I can call him like, hey, Coach Choice, I got this going on, or I got this. And he will give me the same answer that somebody that's in my bloodline would give me.
That's what it's all about, having that trust to where everybody understands that I'm going to do what's best for you. You have to. You have to. And that's the other part that people don't understand, because you sit there and you say, why did someone go to there? Oh, it must have been the NIL. Oh, it had to be because of the money that they were given in these situations. It's not always about those types of things. It's more about the fact that I trust the coach that is going to be there, again, camaraderie with the staff, to the point that I believe in what he's been trying to do for me. I know that he has my best interest in mind, not just because I'm a good football player, but because he brings something to the table that's other than just me being on the football field. That's the important part of all of this. You start to think about it all and you say, okay, Tashard Choice, what else have you been able to do? This is where it starts. But then you also have to look at some of the other players, some of the major players that are in this situation. And one of them that continues to get recognized is one Trey Wisner. Remember, earlier this week, Coach Sark spoke about what Trey brings to the table.
I think that's fair. Trey has really been really impressive this spring. And I think that started for him the second half of last season. You know, his role on special teams really grew and improved, and he made plays, and he had a couple of really big tackles as the year went on for us on teams. I think he got some confidence. The one thing about Trey, he is right there at the top of hardest workers on our team. I mean, that guy goes for it every day, every rep. And it's paying dividends for him. And he's been a really good runner. He's catching the ball out of the backfield. He's been great on teams. I think his understanding schematically of what we're doing is growing. And so I do foresee him having a role with us in the fall.
And the reason why he said that is because other people are taking notice as well. Trey Wisner is somebody that played on a state championship team, came in, wasn't sure what his role was going to be, became a special team star, took the role, ran with it, and now there's some opportunities with a C.J. Baxter. There's some opportunities with a Jaden Blue. So that running back room is pretty much deeper than people thought. And CJ Baxter spoke on Trey Wisner and how he sees him, because I think he has the same view as Coach Sark.
Trey's one of those people, he literally doesn't take a play off. I mean, Trey could be dead tired and he'll still go out there and give his all. So I think that's a part of the reason why he's playing the way he is right now.
You see what I'm saying? When other players start to recognize exactly how good you are and seeing the work ethic that you put in, how you start to ascend in these situations, this is what it's all about. These are those moments where you're going to get an opportunity. Opportunity is all that you want. How did you do it? Well, I went out there and I worked hard on the special teams, and people started to see my speed. They saw that I wasn't afraid. I went out there and made some tackles. Well, what position? Oh, I play running back too. Well, let's get you some reps over there. Things start to unwind, and you deserve the opportunity when you put forth the best effort. We were listening earlier today to a conversation about Gino Ariema and how he develops his players. And it's so crucial in these moments because people don't understand what it's all about. But when you hear the way that Gino talks about his team, and I'll bring it back to football here in just a second. But when you hear Gino talking about his team and what it means to compete all the time, it's pretty interesting.
I mean, I hate to say it, and people say, oh, you're being mean and all that. This isn't junior high, where just because you're on the team and you're at school, you get to play. This is college basketball. And when you're getting a $50,000 scholarship, you have certain obligations. To what? Make every shot? No. Complete every pass? No. No, you have an obligation to compete, to really, really compete. We watch everybody at practice. We watch during the drills. We watch during the shooting stuff. We watch when you guys are playing or doing stations, whatever. Make those decisions. This is an equal opportunity team. When you prove you can do something, you'll get an opportunity to do it. Okay? All right, let's go. Together. 1, 2, 3. Together.
And that's what it's all about. You earn your opportunities. And once you do it, you get it, you run with it. And that is what Trey Wisner is all about. He has been able to establish himself as one of those guys that shows up every single day, whether he's tired, whether he's full of energy. He might have had a bad night the night before, might even had a bad start to practice. But he's opened up enough eyes that Coach Sark started the week talking about him, and CJ Baxter ended the week talking about him. Now you just got to get on the field and lay it all on the line and be able to do so by that movement. But hey, this is what it's all about. These are the opportunities that you ask for when you sign up to go to these major colleges. Now, you heard Gino, that's a basketball scholarship situation. Those numbers are a little bit different when it comes to football. But regardless of what the numbers are, you get that chance to compete and provide the depth that Texas needs to play at the highest level of football. You need everybody bought in. And a lot of times we live in an era now where if you are like that third guy, which Jaden Blue was for a while, now you get elevated, and now Jaden Blue moves into number 2, and now you have Trey Wisner being able to jump in there. And we haven't even mentioned the freshmen that are on campus yet, the freshman running backs. We talked a little bit about it yesterday with Eric Henry of Horns 24/7. He brought them up. But they haven't cracked that code just yet. They may. But if you're going to go up against somebody like Trey Wisner and try to get to number 3, you got your work cut out for you, because that young man is going to teach you what it's like to be at the University of Texas and putting that effort into it. So I'm excited. Texas football, they have a scrimmage this weekend. We'll have all the reports and the notes for you on Monday, so make sure you tune in on Monday. But I'm excited for this Texas football team. We talk a lot about the offense. We talked about defense earlier. We heard from Anthony Hill and what it's like for him to be a leader now and what the importance of putting in the work and what it leads you to. So it's going to be really exciting to see what this team is able to do because CJ Baxter was a load last year. Anthony Hill was a load last year. Those young players came in, and as you see, they don't look like freshmen. They look like grown men. They are very mature for their age, and they've been able to bring it to the highest levels. So I'm excited about it. As we mentioned earlier, Texas baseball falls yesterday to BYU, game 1 of their 3-game series. Tough loss. LeBaron Johnson, another disappointing start. I wish that we can go back to last year and find out what it was for him to unlock the strike zone for where he's been able to be. But there's a lot of players that are looking forward to today because the good thing about baseball, you get to move it over to the side and you get to play another game. And Texas, over the last 3 weekends, have lost the first games of the series and went on to win the series. Game 2, the rubber match, is so important. We have Ace Whitehead on the mound for the University of Texas as he tries to get this team back into the win column. Disappointing, to say the least, because they were down early in the ball game. I believe the first part of it was 6-0 in the 5th inning. And then Texas battled back, but came up a little bit short. When we come back, we got our man Corey Mose of KView Sports. He's going to talk Texas football, Texas basketball, and a little bit about Texas high school athletics right here in the Austin area. Don't go anywhere. Corey Mose of KView, right back here on the Hardge Knocks Life on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone. See you. It's a good day, man. It's a good day. So let's get into it, man. Yesterday was kind of crazy around the university. We get ready to go in for the press conference. Myself trying to show up, and I can't even get to the press conference because there's some craziness that is going on. And then I find out that one Travis Scott is on the campus. What in the world was going on with that?
Yeah, bro, it's a crazy situation happening. But yeah, T. Scott, Houston rapper, he's doing like a college collab tour right now with Fanatics and his clothing line, Cactus Jack. And so basically, there's a lot of Fanatic stores around the nation that are on college campuses, and so they partnered together. And one of those stores is the Moody Center, and that merchandise store at the Mood. And so basically, Travis Scott and his clothing line made college-specific new attire. And so the Texas Longhorns was a part of that, I guess, college tour. You got USC, you got LSU, also a part of that college tour. And so students were lining up since 4 a.m., dude. I talked to a dude, his name was Cole. Yeah, the student that I'm like, bro, you didn't have class today? Like, you just skip class or what? And he's like, yeah, dude, anything for Travis Scott and some new apparel. I said, oh, all right, you got it. I don't know. And my parents will let me do that, but, you know, it's all good, though. And so, yeah, dude, that's what it was. Travis Scott was on campus selling his new clothing line stuff, and a lot of football players, they got a shirt and a hat as well. He crashed a football practice. Saw women's basketball was out there as well. They were able to meet Travis Scott, so a big day. And honestly, I'm from Houston. I've known Travis and his music for a while, and so it's kind of cool to see his stardom all the way rise up to the top as it is right now. But yeah, it was a crazy day on the 40 yesterday, to say the least.
Well, let's get back to the football because, as you talked about, he was there to bless the football team, bless the volleyball team and basketball team, women's basketball team, and men. I saw a lot of guys out there too. But the football is where it's at, and football never stops here in the state of Texas, let alone at the University of Texas. And the Texas football team is getting a lot of preseason hype. I mean, it's still the offseason. We haven't even made it to the SEC yet. But this team is generating a lot of buzz after the performances from last year. I know yesterday I got a chance to talk to Kelvin Banks, got a chance to talk to CJ Baxter and Anthony Hill. And I was telling my man Khalil just a minute ago, this is a different football team because of the size of the players. You know, CJ Baxter and Anthony Hill Jr. were both freshmen, but they don't look like freshmen. They don't make them like they used to make them. What is your biggest takeaway when you look at a guy on the defensive side like Anthony Hill and then on the offensive side like CJ Baxter?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, Mike, is first round. Like the way Anthony Hill pops off the tape, and you know, when me shooting the games and stuff like that, I have to archive the games afterwards and archive every single clip, and so it's tedious at times. But one thing that kept on popping up last year, I used to keep telling Jeff Jones and Tyler Feldman, the other sports anchors at KVU, I say, guys, when I watch these clips back, Anthony Hill just explodes every time he tries to make contact with somebody. I mean, it's just a physical nature that you don't see at the time from a 19-year-old. And so to think that he has another year of training, another year under this weightlifting program, and he's going to have another year after this, like, I just think this kid's going to be first round, 3 and done. Something he mentioned that he feels like Colin Simmons will also do, the true freshman right now at Edge from Duncanville. Anthony Hill said he feels like he should be 3 and done. And so I just feel like these new age, you know, where would they make them in the labs, you know, like a CJ Baxter, they are young, but he just doesn't feel like they are. Like you mentioned, it doesn't look like they are, you know, and they don't play like they are. And so I think that's one of the biggest takeaways that I'm seeing from these two is that they're so mature for their age, and to think that they still got a couple more years in this program, it just should bring us excitement to a lot of Texas fans to know that the leaders on the offensive and defensive side of the ball are young, and the future is looking bright for these guys.
Yeah, it's definitely looking bright. We're talking to Corey Mose of KVU Sports. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Corey_Mose. He's always one of the sharpest dressed dudes on TV, and you make sure that you pay attention because my man is always clean. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about, you know, the expectations of some of these transfers. I've asked the question to everybody that has been on the show this week, and the biggest question for me is who is going to be the most impactful freshman? Most impactful transfer. I put out there Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden, Silas Bolden, and then you also got Andrew Makuba from LBJ. But the name that keeps popping up is Trey Moore. Trey Moore from UTSA. Everybody's been talking about this young man, just his work ethic and the way he goes about everything. So your thoughts on who you believe will make the most impact?
Well, I hope I don't sound like a broken record, because that's literally the first thing that came to my mind, and it's for a couple of reasons, though, Mike. A couple of weeks ago, we talked to Coach Sark, and I actually asked him, has there been a transfer that started to find his voice in this team? Because, when you're new on the team, you don't want to just impose your will on a new team. You want to actually kind of ease your way into that locker room. And so he mentioned Trey Moore. He said it feels like Trey has been able to use his voice through his play. And eventually that play will let him use his voice a lot more. But he said the guys already respect his play. And so for me to hear that this early about a guy, especially from a guy from UTSA who's trying to earn his stripes at a higher division program, well, not division, but just a bigger program, I think that means a lot. And so also you talked about impact, right? That's the question, who will be the most impactful? And if you go back to that Sugar Bowl against Washington, I think the one thing that defense was missing was pressure on Michael Penix. Of course, up the middle, with the DTs, Byron Murphy and T. Sweat, they were able to get some pressure at times, but the edge pressure just wasn't there for UT during that Sugar Bowl. And Penix had all day to throw, and that's exactly what he did. He diced them up. And so they need that extra guy off the edge. That's why they went out and got Colin Simmons. That's why they went out and got Trey Moore. And so I think if he's able to live up to the at least double-digit sacks, last year he got 15 at UTSA. If he's able to even get 10 here at Texas, I think you're talking about a huge impact on a side of the defensive line that they really struggled in last year.
Yeah, and that's something that Coach Sark has really been talking about, third down. The early downs and getting off the field on third down. They can apply pressure. They just hadn't been able to get to the quarterback and sack the quarterback to get him down on the ground. So I do like the way you broke that down and what the expectations are. Let people know where they can find you and what you got going on, man.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, on Twitter, you can find me, Corey, Cory_Mose, Mose. A lot of people trying to put E in my name, Mike. I'm like, bro, it's not Corey. It's just Corey. On Twitter, that's that. IG, of course, Cory_Mose TV. And then just look up Corey Mose. I've been blessed with a name that a lot of people don't have. Not Moses, just Mose, Mose, on all platforms. But we got a lot of stuff going on, though, bro. Of course, you got Texas baseball happening. How about Dean Kennedy? By the way, I mean, this kid is just ridiculous. And so it just took over that second base spot. It feels like it's his.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, baseball happening. Exactly, though. Exactly. Yep. Softball, big time weekend series against Oklahoma. The girls were talking spicy yesterday at the press conference. I love that. They seem pretty confident, and hopefully they can stop this streak that Oklahoma has on them right now in softball. And so, that's the biggest thing this weekend. Of course, Austin FC. We're talking about that as well. They're home this weekend. And high school baseball, I'm going to be out at Rouse tonight. Their head coach if they win tonight, he'll get his 500th career win. So congrats to the Rouse baseball head coach. And I'll be out there. So a lot of things popping off, but that's why we do it though, Mike.
That's why we do it. There he is, my man, Corey Mose. Corey, as always, man, thank you. And we'll be in touch. I appreciate you jumping on. When we come back, we'll end the show, send you off to Dan Patrick. But like he said, there's a big game this weekend, and you want to go out and support the Texas Longhorns softball team. Don't go anywhere. We're right back here on the Hard Knocks Life on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone. They will play at 1 o'clock on LHN. But I wanted y'all to hear this because baseball season has started. The Mets are not doing good. And I know there's some Mets fans that are out there. But I want you to hear this announcer as he pretty much sums up the Mets season already.
Nobody in the ballpark, 1-5, hitless through 7. Feels like rock bottom.
That's what it's all about. You start to look across Major League Baseball, and you know everybody has a chance until they don't. And right now, it feels like the Mets are looking at their team and saying, "What are we doing? Why are we here? When can we leave? And when is this season already over?" I wanted to also bring up the fact that you remember my guy Anthony Rendon. You know, the guy that said he doesn't really like baseball. And, you know, it's not the only thing that he does. Guy that's got a huge contract. And now he's just like, it doesn't make or break me. You're right, because you're getting all that money and it's guaranteed. So as of April the 2nd, Anthony Rendon was 0 of 19 to start the season. This is a guy that didn't care. This is a guy that told you flat out that baseball is not the most important thing to me. Therefore, he just lets you know, you're right. It is not that important to you, as he decided, I'm not going to hit this year either. So, Angel fans, enjoy the ride because it's definitely going to be bumpy. Although they are 4-2, leading the AL West, which is shocking for most. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're going to have a lot of fun. The Final Four starts tonight for the women, tomorrow night for the men. And by the time we come in on Monday, there will be a national champion on the women's side, and we will be having a national championship game for the men. And we'll break it all down right here on the Hardge Knocks Life on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone. And just remember this, folks. Don't believe everything you see, because even salt looks like sugar. Peace.